Deciding where to grow or move your business can be full of unexpected delays. Or you could just go to Ohio. With billions invested in shovel-ready sites, a dedicated team whose only job is to tackle red tape, and 0% corporate income tax, Ohio makes it easy for your business to scale faster. In fact, Ohio ranked number 2 in the U.S. for lowest cost of doing business multiple years in a row. Your move. Learn more at jobsohio.com.
And what's going on, Los Angeles, Bruin Nation, LAFB fam? The Madman here for you for all of your UCLA football needs. And just wanted to jump on here on this beautiful New Year's Eve as of this recording. Thriller and I are going to be getting together New Year's Day evening, the evening of New Year's Day, I should say. And we've got a terrific episode for you, kind of talking about all the different transfer portal targets that UCLA should be going after. But it's been a couple of days. We had a really nice opportunity to celebrate Christmas and the holidays with each of our respective families. And so just wanted to get on first and foremost and wish our Bruin family, our Bruin Nation, just a wonderful New Year's and a memorable and a joyous and a safe and New Year's filled with laughter and excitement. And so just wanted to kind of get on. We missed you guys the last few days and just wanted to provide a few updates here before Thriller and I really get things cooking on New Year's evening, as well as January 2nd, transfer portal opens for the Bruins. That is going to be an action-packed 2 weeks for the Bruins of UCLA, and we got all of the breaking news for you right here on the one and only LAFB network. But wanted to kind of just kick things off. Some news over the last 4 or 5 days. Nothing exceptionally major, like the announcement of Nico coming back when we all sort of got together, but a lot of interesting moves and things that were happening. Thought it would be important for us to get together and share it. First and foremost, had some departures and sort of as expected with Nico Iamaleava's triumphant announcement of coming back for year 2 with UCLA. A couple quarterbacks in the transfer portal. The first, Luke Duncan, and then the other, Henry Hasselbeck. And so with Luke Duncan, obviously, Thriller and I have been so high on Duncan for a couple of years now. 6'5", he's got that Curtis O'Rourke body whenever we sort of compare the systems at Indiana and UCLA. Really nice mechanics. I think he showed a ton of flashes here in some of the games that he played, particularly in that spot start at the Horseshoe against defending national champion Ohio State, where, considering the circumstances, I thought he held his own and did some really nice things in the second half. I think with the return of Nico to sit now a third year in this system would, I think, be a tall order in terms of development from a prospect standpoint. So wishing Luke Duncan nothing but the very best. Very excited to see where he ends up and hope he kind of gets that opportunity. I wouldn't be surprised if, maybe some lower tier Power 4 schools that are looking to replace quarterbacks, particularly in that Big 12, maybe down there in the ACC as well. Take a look at Duncan as a guy that can come in and make an impact. And then, of course, you've got, the group of 5 community that I think is going to be really salivating for Luke Duncan. Then, of course, you got Henry Hasselbeck, the son of longtime NFL quarterback Matt Hasselbeck. Henry, Thriller and I and Wayne, we saw him more from a practice standpoint in terms of spring ball. Didn't really get any game action, but fiery kid, a lot of leadership there, a lot of potential. And I think this is probably the right opportunity for him to now find a program where he can sort of grow into over multiple years. Because let's not forget, I think Nico's return to UCLA, I think there's a 2-for-1 element here. The fact that Nico was willing to invest 2 years at UCLA now really suggests that the likelihood of Madman, Iamaleava, Nico's younger brother, staying at UCLA for multiple years beyond Nico, I think that probability goes way up. So you're seeing kind of the Iamaleava family lineage here at quarterback at UCLA, and I think other prospects at the quarterback position that really needed to play in 2026 for their development and really be able to make that jump are making the best possible decisions for their families. So we wish Henry and Luke, nothing but the very best. We're going to be rooting for him, and it'll be interesting to see where things net out. Another interesting one in terms of entry into the transfer portal, Keanu Williams. And we talked a lot about losing Keanu over the course of this season. It actually sort of came out in a very nuanced way, just sort of given the way his eligibility was from a timing standpoint. He actually had one more year of eligibility, which was very interesting. That was not known really across vast channels until he sort of announced his departure in the transfer portal. I think Keanu has a ton of upside. Really, really exciting opportunities there. I think he's got an NFL body. I think he's got NFL hands. And I think Keanu probably needs a bit of a fresh start. Underachieved, if we're being completely honest here, over the last couple of years at UCLA. And that's kind of what the transfer portal is there for. Sometimes you need just that fresh start, a new system, new location, new program to really reset the board. So while I think it would have been really interesting to see Keanu in this new defensive system, and I think he would do a phenomenal job considering where the depth is at defensive line with UCLA. I think he would have had a tremendous opportunity to play right away. I think the fact that he doesn't have that existing relationship with the James Madison coaching staff and the Chesney tree there, I think he's sort of assessing his options. Now, I wouldn't rule out the possibility of Keanu Williams coming back to UCLA, but I think that he wants to sort of open it up, see what the possibilities are, and then depending on how many UCLA can get in the portal from James Madison as well as other places, we've really targeted that as a 15 total between offensive and defensive line. So that puts you at 7 to 8 on that defensive line. Depending on how far along you are on that 7 to 8, the possibility of maybe bringing Keanu back could be really significant, would give Keanu also an opportunity here in these next few weeks to build a relationship with this new defensive staff and see where things shake out. So that was an interesting one that unfolded. And then, of course, the additions. And we talked about this, but it became official in UCLA circles that Bob Chesney has brought on his offensive coordinator and his defensive coordinator from James Madison. So we get the 2-for-1, the 3-for-1, if you will. We get the Dean Kennedy. We also get Colin Hitchler. And so going to be really excited to see, again, Hitchler and the things that he's able to do. Some really big jobs over the course of his career where he's been in a co-defensive coordinator capacity as well as in a position coach capacity, both with the likes of Alabama, with the likes of Wisconsin. Really some run heavy, defending the run heavy as well. Big teams, notable teams. That's the style of play that you want in the Big Ten Conference here. So what Hitchler is able to do moving forward, I think is going to be very, very significant. So the Chesney staff now coming together. I think if his philosophy is if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He's won at every level with these guys. There's a tremendous amount of continuity. And much like the way Kalen DeBoer brought his people along from Fresno State to Washington and then ultimately to Alabama, you're seeing Bob Chesney bring in that same model, not just from a coordinator standpoint, but also from a front office capability and bringing some of his JMU player personnel directors, guys that are thinking about recruiting and really trying to modernize this front office at UCLA, and we're so excited about that. The other interesting entry, I would say, director of college scouting was announced a couple of days ago for UCLA. DeAndre Cooper comes not from the JMU ecosystem for Bob Chesney, but comes from Arizona State, where over the past 2 years at Arizona State, he was the director of recruiting. And I think this is a significant get for UCLA. You saw what DeAndre Cooper was able to do at Arizona State these last 2 years. Last year, Arizona State was in the college football playoff. This year, they had a very solid 8-4 season, had a couple rough injuries and a couple bounces not go their way, which is sort of such as life in college football, but 2 incredible seasons that have really brought Arizona State back to a significant amount of notoriety. He brings now that track record of these last 2 years now to LA, to that UCLA campus, to this incredible market that UCLA is in, with this dynamic new head coach and coaching staff, with a 5-star quarterback that's returning. It's going to be really exciting to see what DeAndre Cooper is able to do with this Chesney staff from a director of college scouting perspective. That's his official title. But again, the interplay between scouting players and then ultimately recruiting them is so intertwined that DeAndre Cooper coming in is going to be really significant. Arizona State was able to do it very, very quickly under the leadership of Kenny Dillingham. And Bob Chesney has that same youthful exuberance, that same energy that Kenny Dillingham does. So, again, all really, really good news for UCLA in terms of the influx. I think now the question also is, who are the Bruins going to initially target in this transfer portal window starting January 2nd? And logic has to sort of dictate that things really begin with James Madison players. And what's really interesting, James Madison, after this college football playoff run, from an offensive standpoint, loses all 11 starters. Incredible to sort of think about. 4 guys to graduation, 7 to the portal, and then losing about half of their starters defensively. So huge amount of turnover there for JMU. The notoriety that they were able to build this year, I think they want to be able to test the open markets and see what they can do. I think 2 guys really sort of jump off the page in terms of the ability for UCLA to really go after them. The first, and we've talked about this, Sahir West, the edge from JMU, sort of the star edge, the star defensive lineman for JMU. 14 TFLs this year, 7 sacks, really ran havoc on that Sun Belt Conference. Built so uniquely there, 6'4", 6'5", 240. I mean, just really, really great body at the edge. And you're just so excited about seeing what Sahir West could potentially do at UCLA. I think there's going to be a significant market for him. But the fact that his defensive coordinator and his head coach are at UCLA, if UCLA, I think, is close from an NIL standpoint in terms of price, you have to believe there's a significant inside track there for Sahir West, and he fills need number 1 for UCLA, which is defensive line quality and depth, particularly on that edge, and the ability to rush the passer. So,
Deciding where to grow or move your business can be full of unexpected delays. Or you could just go to Ohio. With billions invested in shovel-ready sites, a dedicated team whose only job is to tackle red tape, and 0% corporate income tax, Ohio makes it easy for your business to scale faster. In fact, Ohio ranked number 2 in the U.S. for lowest cost of doing business multiple years in a row. Your move. Learn more at jobsohio.com.
Here, West is someone we've got really our eye on as potentially a first domino to fall for UCLA early in this portal window, perhaps the second itself, maybe the third, maybe the fourth. But Bruin fans, keep your eye out on Sahir West. The other player I think we're all sort of looking at is running back Wayne Knight, who was an All-American at JMU this past year, 1,600 total yards, 1,300 on the ground, 300 through the air. And when you think about what Dean Kennedy wants to do from an offensive standpoint, Wayne Knight was so central to that, along with quarterback Alonzo Barnett. And Thriller and I sort of talked about this when we were looking at that JMU-Oregon game. We just couldn't help but daydream how that RPO game potentially could work between a Wayne Knight and a Nico Iamaleava. And so I think it's going to be an interesting situation with Wayne Knight. Again, I think he's going to have a massive market and opportunity for himself. But the fact that Woods is remaining with UCLA, the fact that Javion Thomas is remaining with UCLA, even if you were not able to get Wayne Knight, I think just those 2 players' styles, their wiggle, particularly their ability as well to be able to catch the ball out of the backfield, really lends itself very nicely to this Dean Kennedy system. So I think bringing in bringing in Wayne Knight would, I think, be really significant from a continuity standpoint with Nico, and seeing Nico with him in this continuous offense at JMU. But even if we're not able to get Wayne Knight, I really want to see the jump, and I have really high hopes on what Jet can do and Woods can do in a system that really values their size, their style of running, as well as their ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. So Sahir West and Wayne Knight are 2 guys to really keep your eye on, kind of the decorated guys up front. Then I think there's about 4 or 5 guys on this JMU roster that UCLA really needs to focus on. One is Aiden Gobira. Aiden Gobira, defensive lineman for JMU. Very interesting story here. He was actually a 4-star out of high school, recruited by Notre Dame, had to medically redshirt because of injury issues. Sound familiar? AKA Laiatu Latu. And not suggesting that he's the next Latu by any stretch of the imagination, but a very similar story. Highly decorated recruit to Notre Dame. If you're good enough to be recruited by Notre Dame on a defensive line, given the level of success that program has had over the last few years, you're doing some really great things. Things obviously didn't work out from a health perspective. Rejuvenated his career at JMU. He has 1 year of eligibility left. He had 38 tackles this year, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. Gobira coming with West would be really significant to this defensive line to really elevate us very, very quickly. And then also on the edge, Emmanuel Ezegu is someone that I think has shown flashes of tremendous brilliance at JMU. 4 TFLs this year. He's a redshirt freshman. Athleticism off the charts. Just his explosiveness off the jump. The way he sort of has lateral quickness, kind of the power with the hands. I mean, this is a guy that potentially could make a massive jump from year 1 to year 2, wherever he goes. And the fact that he's a little bit more of a diamond in the rough, maybe that NIL price is going to be a little bit lower. Ezegu, I think, is someone that would be a tremendous addition to that UCLA defensive line. And again, the fact that you've got Hitchler and Chesney coming to UCLA, what do you want as a young player? You want development. What's the thing that's highly correlated to development? It's continuity. So again, getting Ezegu and Gobira would be huge. And then 2 others to sort of keep your eye on. One is Carter Swezzy, offensive lineman, interior offensive lineman, kind of plays all over, has played a little bit of tackle, a little bit of guard, both sides of the line, 1,300 snaps over his JMU career. PFF actually has him as a top 5 offensive lineman in the country for guys that have had at least 100 snaps in terms of run protection, as well as 100 snaps in terms of pass protection. He has an additional year of eligibility left, and this would be, I think, a tremendous fortification to UCLA's offensive line and an anchor to be able to build upon moving forward here as we go into the 2026 season. And then the last player that I think really has caught a lot of folks' eye is Lakota Dipre, the tight end from JMU, 6'4", 250 pounds, athletic. JMU has him in all these kind of trick plays also. He's a guy that really good hands. He struggled a little bit with some drops at the end of the year. Really good hands, though. I think he's got a very unique body from a blocking perspective as well, but just a super nimble athlete. JMU kind of has him in different kind of reverses. They even threw the ball with him a little bit. Just a super athletic kid at 6'4", 250. He's got kind of that Travis Kelce type of frame and just so unique, I think, as a body type at the tight end position. He had 17 catches, 192 yards, 3 touchdowns for JMU, but it really doesn't tell the story. I think that athletic tight end is something that was missing from the offense this year, and I think something that would be such an incredible addition for Nico to be able to have that seam route, to be able to just have those hook routes in the middle of the field to a tight end that sort of knows you got that sort of security blanket and you got some really good running backs out of the backfield. It really kind of allows you to have advantages from a check down position. And if your line isn't great, gets you the ball out quickly and it calms you. And you don't sort of see the ghosts. You stay calm, you stay present in the pocket. And then that allows you, when the protection comes together, to be able to push the ball down the field more. So keep an eye. Gobira, Swezzy, Ezegu, and Dipre as 4 guys from JMU, in addition to Sahir West and Wayne Knight being the decorated guys. And that's just the guys from JMU, as Thriller and I have talked about so much. We got all of the Southern California pipeline that have gone to other programs. Hey, they're either homesick, they don't love the weather, things didn't really work out schematically or systematically with the program that they're in. They want to come back home. And Thriller and I are going to break down many more of those types of guys, given the need of where UCLA is moving forward. So again, that arrow just keeps pointing up in terms of optimism and enthusiasm. This is going to be a bananas next 14, 15 days here, folks. So we're going to have all of this breaking news. This next 14, 15 days is really going to set the stage in terms of UCLA's roster for the 2026 season. So this is really our Super Bowl over the course of, this early part of January. Then the roster will solidify, and then we get into the meat of spring ball and see how all these guys gel as we head into summer and the fall. So new season is going to be upon us. Hard to believe we're just a few weeks out from the last season, but the way today's college football works, man, this is really a 24/7, 365 sport, and we're super excited to have it all covered for you here on the LAFB network. And so before I sign off, again, download the #1 sports app. We got to pay the bills around here, folks. Download the #1 sports app, that Sleeper app. Use that promo code UCLA LAFB. Tell them the guys from the LAFB network sent you. You got live stats, real-time chat, super one-stop shop immersive platform for all of your needs, all interesting parlays you can do, different lines, different over-unders, so many different combinations of things. Download the #1 sports app, the Sleeper app, and tell them the guys from the LAFB network sent you. Well, folks, we got another one in the books. Have a wonderful and safe and joyous new year. 2026 is going to be an incredible year for us. And if you haven't already done so, please hit that like and subscribe button. We care so deeply about building this community. Thriller and I want to do this for years to come. And the way we're able to do that is through your viewership and through your subscriptions. And so just would be so grateful if you hit that like and subscribe button. What an incredible 2026 unfolds for us. We're going to be buckling up right next to you on this ride and to see this new era of UCLA football. And like we always say before we get out of here, you got to be loud. You got to be proud. You got to be passionate, Bruins. Fours up forever, baby.
Deciding where to grow or move your business can be full of unexpected delays. Or you could just go to Ohio. With billions invested in shovel-ready sites, a dedicated team whose only job is to tackle red tape, and 0% corporate income tax, Ohio makes it easy for your business to scale faster. In fact, Ohio ranked #2 in the U.S. for lowest cost of doing business multiple years in a row. Your move. Learn more at jobsohio.com.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.